geometry support. Angles of chord, secants, and tangents. So those are the things that are forming those angles that are inside, on, and outside the circle. So the first one we're going to look at are angles on a circle. So, do you see that what I mean by on is the vertex of the angle is on the circle. If the vertex is on the circle, then it's going to be formed by a chord and a, what do we call that? Tangent. Okay, so we really have two angles that are here. We have this angle. Do you guys see that angle? And we also have this angle. So we have two angles that are formed when the vertex lies on the circle, and that's formed by a chord and a tangent. So to get the measure of this angle, it is half the intercepted arc. Half the intercepted arc. So FAB is half of this arc. And then EAB is half of that arc.
That's the same as what we did yesterday.
It's half. Just like an inscribed angle was half. So if the vertex lies on the circle, it's half. Whether it's an inscribed angle or if it's an angle that is on the circle. Okay? Alright, so if this is 200, what is this angle? 100. 100 degrees. Okay, everybody add that into your notes, please. Did you hear back?
No, she's probably still asleep. She sleeps like on every day.
Well,
How nice. And the rest of us didn't. Alright, so we just take half. So if the angle is on the circle, we take half, just like with an inscribed angle. Okay, any questions about that kind? Alright. Okay, now the next one are angles inside a circle. So this time we're looking inside the circle. And these are formed by two, what do we call these? They're vertical angles formed by, what do you call those pink, that I highlighted in pink? Chords. So these are angles formed by chords. And what this ends up being, this inside angle formed by these two chords, the inside angle is half the sum.
in order to find both, since they both don't have it, you need to find the sum, right?
Okay, it's half the sum of the intersected arcs. And that's what this says. This angle A is 1/2 of the sum of those two. So to find this angle X, it's half the sum of those two. So we do 40 plus 62.
51.
Okay, and 40 plus 62 is 102. And when we take half of that, we get 51 degrees. X is 51 degrees. Now, there's another way your teachers could teach you this. They could say if we double this, we get the sum of those two. So that's another way they could say it. They could say if we double the X, we get the sum of the two. But guys, is that any different?
No.
Because to solve, we add these two up,
Divide by 2.
and then we end up dividing by 2. So really it's up to you. Whichever way your brain understands it best. I like half the sum, but then I know other teachers like doubling that. Yes, sir. You sure can. Okay, what I'd like you to do is I want you to try 1 through 6 now. Some of them are just like what we did. Some are kind of an extension. So if you're not sure what to do, you ask me. If you're listening to this video, you're about to have several moments of nothing. You might want to fast forward until you see writing on the screen again. Alright, cut my mic off, so if you have a question, it won't pick you up. Be sure to ask. So try 1 through 6. I'll be right there, Elizabeth. I need to pee. So we know that when you're 80,
So you're what?
you know the half the sum of these two.
What would you prefer to go? 125.
65.
65.
Divided by 2.
140. Yeah. 60 plus 1 equals 200. Divided by 1.
Yeah, that's greater than that.
Put the entire thing in. That's
And
right.
it may not always be on
So it's all these items together and divided by 2. Okay.
No, I haven't typed it in the calculator yet. Oh, because I did it all together. Well, what I was doing does the same thing.
Oh, did I make a bad job?
Sure it's on every end?
Because you're. Yeah. It's doing that division before that. Who needs help?
Okay, just gotta do it. Oh, because I put 140 back there. It's on 65. Oh. Yeah. That's what you were doing. I'm like, we should be putting on this one up. It's There's a giant back. I was going to, oh.
I like the way you did it. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, so, all right. Let's look at it together. This angle right here is the same as half the sum of those two.
Why would you do
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Alright, this angle right here is half of this. So if we say half
Maybe. That's,
Times 2 is
this is not the 50 and then so it has to be so it's
this angle right here is a
again, here's the thing. With this one, it was kind of like that. This one. I'm just gonna ask you. No, remember that one is supposed to be half.
These two make a straight line.
That's supposed to be
So
half.
what would you subtract?
So that has to be. No. Still ask just in case. I trust you.
I'm gonna ask you about that one in a second. Tomorrow.
Find this
That is one great way of doing it.
Okay.
Yes.
And
There's two ways. Ooh, that's our challenge problem. I'm not gonna help anybody. I
oh,
want to
this
see what you
one,
think.
did I get it right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, sort of, not that you ever call but. Did you get one? Okay. Okay, so to get this out, we have to do half the sum of those two, right? So this plus this, so 80. So the half
Equal to
the sum of these two.
1/2 of 60 plus y.
Or we could say, if we double 80, we get the sum of those.
This is 100.
Either way.
360 minus.
And then wait for this one.
Follow that magic. Okay. Good. Alright, let's see. This is like this. This angle right here is half of this. So if they give the angle, instead of half, so that would just go backwards. So the double 40.
No, okay, so that 40, this is 80.
Okay, now this
Well,
one
what I
is
did was I moved, oh yeah,
So
this is
1/2
R.
R.
So
R is
you
100.
know where you have to multiply by
So
2.
that is 50.
And then
Right here.
times 2.
That's not, no, this side. But that's not what they
One
have
is
to
giving
do.
you 60.
But we know that these two together make a straight line. What do two angles plus 1 add up to? Straight line is 180. So you take 180 and 1/2.
I got this thing here from Kyle went to, so I'm asking her if I did that
This is yeah.
No, it's just
I knew that here. Talking about this angle, 80, half the sum of those two.
you have this art and this art.
Alright,
Write that down. I don't know, because I do it in my head and then I have to write it in my hand.
I think it is 60. If we already have this one, we just on this. There's also this angle right here. That makes it even because it's this angle, this angle. And then you can just Alrighty. I just want to draw I'm short. I'm somewhat smart, even though I'm mostly dying.
Alright, if this R, oh, well, she's 80. Okay, so that's 80 right now. Okay, so if this is 80, and this is 40.
Yo, what are you thinking about?
You had to have this line. You had to have that line to make that angle. So that line wasn't
That one, they don't give you the right order. Find that angle.
Don't look at me, I didn't say.
How much?
Only paper.
Okay, you guys were doing really well as I walked around. So some of these were pretty much straightforward, and some you had to do a little more work. So let's take a look at number 1. This inside angle formed by 2 chords, that is equal to half of the sum. So 140 plus 65 is 205. And half of 205 is
102.5.
102.5. And that is the answer to number
You
1.
put 120.
I did. Thank you. Okay, any questions about number 1?
No.
All right, number 2 is just like it. Now, so we add them up and take half. So U is 1/2 35 plus 45. And 35 plus 45 is 80. And half of 80 is 40. Now, I could see your teachers, instead of putting U right here, asking you for V right here. So what you would have to do, even if they didn't give you that, you'd have to find that this is 40, right? And then these two together make a straight line, don't they? So how could we find V?
Subtract from 180.
Right, it would be
140.
180 minus 40, which is 140. Okay, so they might give you this one, or they might give you a 2-stepper, where you have to find this and then subtract from 180 to get the other. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, cool. All right, this one. I like this one because it's a little different. 80 is half of the sum. Or we could say, if we kind of solve this, if we multiply both sides by 2, if we double 80, it's equal to the sum of the 2. Now, you certainly could have distributed the 1/2, but most of us don't like fractions, do we? So instead of distributing a fraction, I usually just eliminate it by multiplying by the reciprocal. Either way, we should have gotten 100. 100 degrees is the value of y.
See?
Okay, so this one's kind of backwards of what we talked about. We said that half of the arc equals the angle. So if half of the arc equals the angle,
The other way.
then we ought to be able to double the angle
To get the arc.
to get the arc, right? So if I double 40, what do I get? 80. Okay, there was 2 ways to work number 5. And some of you worked it one way, and some of you worked it the other, which was pretty cool. Some of you said that if this is 100, if this arc is 100 degrees, then this angle would have to be 50. And you did 180 minus 50 to get x. Okay, others of you approached it differently. You said if this is 100, what does it leave for this arc?
230.
260. And then when I take half of 260, I get 130. I got the same thing, didn't I? So you can approach that problem either way. Yes, sir. Sure. Okay, now this one. This makes you think in 2 steps. The first step is to realize that this is an angle on the circle formed by a chord and a tangent. So if this is 40, this intercepted arc would have to be double that, or 80. Okay? Now that we have the 80, we should see that this angle x would have to be half of the sum of this arc and this arc that we just found. So we'd say that x equals 1/2 40 plus 80, and 40 plus 80 is 120. So half of 120 is 60 degrees. Okay, so that was my challenge, right? Awesome. Awesome. As I was walking around, I noticed several of you had it. That was cool. Okay, so now we've done angles inside the circle formed by two chords and angles on the circle formed by a tangent and a chord. The other kind of angle whose vertex is on the circle is an inscribed angle. It is also half the intercepted arc, isn't it? That's the one we did yesterday. Now we're going to flip it over to the back. We're going to look at angles outside the circle. Inside, on, and outside. That's what we're looking at today. So the last one is outside. Now, angles formed outside the circle, it's always half the difference of the intercepted arcs. Okay, so up until this point we've been doing sum, but if the angle is outside the circle, see, it's outside, it's outside, it's outside. If the angle is outside the circle, it is half the difference. What does difference mean? Subtract. Good. That just means to subtract. Okay. So in this case, if this is our picture, and this is formed by two secants, so the secants are going to pass through at 2 points. See, 1, 2, 1, 2. These are two secants. So if we did half the difference in the intercepted arcs, first we have to figure out what's intercepted. Do you guys see that this is the bigger one, and this is the smaller one? So, our formula for this one would be half the measure of arc ABC minus the measure of XYZ. Half the difference. So it's always the big arc minus the little arc. Half that difference. Half big minus little. Okay, the next two aren't really different, even though they're formed by different things. This angle right here is formed by a tangent and a secant. Do you guys see? These were two secants. This is a tangent and a secant. Same idea though. Let me switch this second color to something different. Let's go pink. So we'll be green and pink. Okay, so do you see that this is my big arc? And then this is my little arc. Does everybody see that? So it is the same idea. It is half the difference. Whoop. Okay, so on this one, it is half the big arc, which once again is still ABC from the way I've lettered these, minus the little arc. And the little arc is still, oh no, this time it's XYC. Shares this point C, so we have C in both of them. But still, it is half the big arc minus the little arc. Okay, I want you to try to write the formula for the one with the two tangents. See if you can take what we did in the first two and write the correct thing for the last one. Okay, so in this one, half the big arc, so that would be ABC again.
Yeah.
But this time my little arc is ADC. And let me make that more arcish. There we go. So, if the angle is inside, we do the sum. If the angle is outside, we do the difference. Inside sum, outside difference. So let's do some practice problems. Okay, so the measure of AC, let's put the information they gave us on here. The measure of AC is this one, is 178 degrees. And the measure of CH, this one, is 102 degrees. Okay, this is a tangent and a secant, but it really doesn't matter. It's an outside angle. And anytime we have an outside angle, we do the half the difference in the big arc minus the small arc. Big minus little. So in this case, it would be 1/2 178 minus 102. And so that is half of 76, which is how many degrees?
38.
38.
Would it be that easy every time?
Sometimes they might give you the degree measure here and ask you for this, but the process is the same every time. That would just have you solving it a little differently. So let's take a look at this one. Speaking of that, this is still a tangent and a secant. So AC, this one here, this here, the big one, the bigger intersected arc is 158. What they want us to figure out is this one. This is what we don't know. But they tell us that this angle right here is 68 degrees. So we know the angle, we're missing the arc. So we can set up an equation. The angle, the outside angle, is equal to half the big minus the little. What is the big?
158.
158
Plus X.
minus, sure, we can make it y. You can pick any variable you want.
I got a negative number.
But you have to work back.
Okay, so let's see what we do to solve. We're going to multiply times 2, okay? And that
36.
gives us 136 equals
Subtract.
158 minus y.
Subtract 158.
So we subtract 158. Now at this point we do get a negative number, but we also have a negative y.
Divide by negative.
So that's going to work out on the end.
Oh,
Okay? So this gives us, what, negative 22
See.
equals negative y.
okay.
And if we divide both sides by negative 1, we get y equals
22.
22. So, y is the measure of CH. So the measure of arc CH is 22 degrees. Okay, so that's the other kind you could have with this, where they ask you to find one of the arcs instead of the angle. Okay, this one's more straightforward. They give us the big arc and they give us the little arc. So I want you to try number 3, and then I'll help you with number 4.
They always have the same. So the tangent smaller one is gonna be.
Okay, so if we do half 205 minus 155, that is half of
Oh, that's half of 50,
half of 50,
25.
and so that would be 25. X is 25 degrees. Okay, so this one is very similar to number 2. Even though this time it's formed by two tangents, we know that CAH is 210. We don't know this, so you could call it Y again if you wanted to. And we know that this is 62. So we know that 62 is equal to half 210 minus Y. So we could either distribute the half, or what can we do to get rid of the fraction? Multiply by 2. So if we multiply by 2, that gives us 124 equals 210 minus Y. And we subtract 210. So that gives us negative 56.
86.
Thank you. And so when we divide by negative 1, Y is 86 degrees, which is the measure of arc CH. Okay, we ready for the last two? Alright, so here's the last two. Now this time, we have two secants on both of these, but it's the same idea. When it's an outside angle, it's half the difference. So ABC, the measure, this should say the measure, whoopsie. The measure of arc ABC is 140. And the measure of arc XYZ is 50. Find X. You try.
Can I use the restroom?
Okay, how'd you do on the first one?
Really good.
Alright? And the second one is just like it this time. They're asking us for this outside angle. You know what? Let's change this one up. Sorry. We're changing it up. Let's say K is 20 degrees. Let's find the measure of ABC. We haven't done one like this at all. I'm changing up number 6. Correct your sheet.
Why does it look like the same?
Because what's missing this time is the big angle. We haven't done one where you're trying to find the big
you
angle.
took out 8.
Yeah. I eliminated ABC. Make a change. I changed number 6. We haven't had one like this yet.
I figured it out.
That's why. So this time we'd say 20 is equal to 1/2
X.
x, y, whatever you want to use, minus
30.
30. So if we multiply by 2 to get rid of our fraction, then we get 70 equals y minus 30.
That's 40. It's 40.
No, we get 40. I was trying to give you the answer. I'd already done it in my head. Sorry. 40 equals y minus 30. So we add 30 to both sides, and what's the answer?
70.
70. So 70 equals the measure of arc ABC. Now that is only true if you change the problem, those of you that are watching this on video. Only true if you
Wait,
change the problem.
did you turn on
What now?
the microcap?
It's on. Actually, it's not on, but I'm close enough.